My name's Lisa Cummins, and I own a little cafe in Mount Dunedin called Euphoric Food Cafe. Thank you so much for having me here today. I think the best way to speak is from the heart, and so I want to begin by saying that I have spent much of my life pushing through shyness and fear to achieve my goals. Starting our cafe has been no different. Tomorrow, Euphoric Food Cafe celebrates its second birthday. To be standing up here talking about how to build a high performance team is a great moment for me. Before I achieved my dream of opening my very own cafe, I worked as a journalist for Fairfax and also in public relations for not-for-profit Coringle. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room, which is quite comforting for me to hear today as well. I'm also dyslexic. I know how it feels to have something hanging over your head, something that puts a lot of roadblocks in front of your goals, and how difficult it is to face something other people don't know how to deal with. Being the shy person I am, it probably wouldn't surprise you in the slightest that talking to famous people also makes me feel kind of uneasy. But it was one particular famous person I spotted at the Melbourne Fine Food Fair last year, and my determination to build the best team possible, which saw me push that shyness and fear aside. So I decided to ask Melbourne restaurateur and MasterChef judge George Columbaris what he looks for in staff when building his high-performance team. His response: "You can teach a plumber to cook, but you can't teach attitude." I thought to myself, I'm never going to forget that. Attitude is the key. Struggling with the simplest things at school, I knew it was my own mindset and sheer determination that got me to the position of fulfilling my dream to own my own cafe. I had no doubt my mate George, as I like to call him after just one short conversation, was right. And so with that gem of advice on board, the search began. Let me tell you a little bit about our cafe. My husband Matt and I, with the backing of my dad, who's out there as well, and my brother, who own a small business on the Great Ocean Road called Anglesey Fruits, opened Euphoric Food Cafe in the middle of the Surf Coast Highway in Mount Dunedin. Immediately, we developed a euphoric ethos, a way of thinking, a framework of how we do things. That ethos is to provide excellent comfort food in a relaxing atmosphere. We want to create a space where people feel welcome, at ease, without pretense, where they walk away feeling happy and cared for, and they have a great experience from food to coffee and service. This is a big reason I feel the interview process, much to your speech just before, is actually quite overrated, especially in terms of hiring staff in hospitality. My own personal obstacles meant it was really important to me to be open-minded about building my own team and who those people may be. Attitude is a very hard quality to gauge in an interview. Some people perform really well when interviewed, look awesome on paper, but when you give them the job, they rock up late, don't have the passion you thought they would, and don't treat your customers or their colleagues in the way that their resume says they strive to do so. I think the best way to see if a potential staff member is right for your team and for them to decide if your workplace is the right place for them is through a work trial. This is how I found James. Now, James, I invited him to come along today and he said he had a very busy schedule and that unfortunately he couldn't make it. I think he was probably as nervous, if not more nervous than me, so that may or may not be why he's not here with us, but there's a few photos that will pop up of James with his kayak, which he actually brought because he was working with us, which is a great achievement of his. So he'll pop up there somewhere along the line with his kayak. I was approached by Matchworks, who assist people with a disability to find mainstream employment. While I had worked at parent organisation Coringle, I hadn't been through the process of employing someone this way in my own business. We met and I was instantly impressed by his enthusiasm and confidence. We spoke briefly about his previous experience and what he enjoyed doing, and then we got to work. Watching him rocket through those dishes was truly impressive, and you could see that he was methodical and organised with the task before him. I asked him how he felt about customer interaction, and while taking orders and processing money clearly was not his cup of tea, running coffee and food certainly was. It was the moment I saw James with our customers that I knew without a shadow of a doubt he was the right person for the job. James didn't just dump cutlery in front of customers. He said hello, he had a little bit of a chat. Even though it was not his job to take orders, if he saw someone at the counter, he didn't avoid eye contact and run away like a lot of people would. He smiled and said he would find someone who could help them. James had the job for no other reason than his personality naturally encapsulates our business's ethos. I could have interviewed 5 people that day, and James may not have stood out because, like me, he probably doesn't interview very well. But seeing him at work in his element, where his attitude and personality could shine through and we could communicate and feel more comfortable, both of us, was what brought us together. Almost a year on, and James is the glue that literally holds our team together. And he absolutely thrives and takes that responsibility so seriously. And I'm not overestimating that. On weekends, if James isn't there, the place doesn't work. His job is that critical. A lot of business owners and team leaders may be worried about managing a person with disability, about how to accommodate any physical requirements they may have, and how to communicate with a person who may have an intellectual disability like James, and James has got a few speech issues too. I like to keep in mind that we all have things we excel at and things that we don't. Counting the till at the end of the night really does my head in. It's not what I'm good at, and I've got a bookkeeper that looks after all that stuff, because in reality, just adding up or doing percentages and all that sort of stuff, I actually, that's not where my mind is. I think you allow people to excel with open and honest communication and giving each individual the opportunity to express what they are great at and what they need to be great at their job. Building a dynamic and high-functioning team is all about how you communicate, show respect, and how you can create an environment to provide the opportunities for your staff to excel. Disability, when you lead like that, does not matter. I think we miss opportunities when building our teams because we haven't opened our minds to other perspectives and ways of finding people. I know a lot of very small business owners in particular are probably quite worried about whether they may have enough work or be able to dedicate enough time to employing people with disability. But there is so much support available now, and it was knowing that I had the support with James that really got me over the line. The diversity field officers who you have the opportunity to interact with this morning can speak to you one-on-one about the sorts of people you're looking for in terms of your staff. It's important to be honest when having these conversations. Express your worries and your concerns and what you are looking for in your particular workforce. Sometimes building your team can feel quite overwhelming, but the best thing I ever did was think outside the box and explore avenues and people that I may not have otherwise considered, with the condition that they come on board with the right attitude. A lot of people haven't had a lot of opportunity to spend time with people with a disability before. I'm going to give a little bit of a plug to a Kooringal program that that I was sort of involved in back when I was in my days at Kooringal. Backlinks run a terrific team building and workplace volunteering day called the Workplace Big Day Out. It's a great vehicle to bring people together who otherwise may never have had the opportunity to cross paths. And so it gives you an opportunity to do some team building with your company, but also to have some interaction, with other people with disabilities, and they focus on ability, not disability, which is great. You can go to their website, but I'm sure that's something the diversity field officers can assist with if you think that some, that some exposure would be helpful and help you sort of, get over the line, I suppose. At the end of the day, I have, and I know many others, who have spent a lot of time hiding their obstacles to find the right opportunities for themselves. We all have strengths, we all have things we aren't necessarily good at, and some of us don't have the benefit of being able to hide our perceived shortcomings. I wanted to create a workplace where people can be who they really are and excel. Disability doesn't matter. What matters is matching the right people with the right jobs. Building a high-performance workforce for us was about exploring people with different stories, and through these differences, we have an innovative team, all with different talents that support our ethos. I hope you take this opportunity to talk to the diversity officers here today about your goals and what you need to support your business's ethos. Most of all, I hope today has opened your mind to possibilities and people you hadn't thought of. Thank you.